In the world of fantasy, stories of tragedy are woven deep into the fabric of many beloved characters. From Guts of Berserk to the somber tales of Elric of Melnibone, tragic heroes face a relentless series of fates that shape their destinies. But perhaps none are as deeply cursed as Túrin Turambar, one of the greatest and most doomed characters in fantasy worlds. Túrin was born in Dor-lómin, the son of Túrin Turambar and Morwen. His father, Húrin, was a legendary warrior of the House of Hador, whose deeds became the stuff of legend. In the Battle of Unnumbered Tears, Húrin faced the forces of Morgoth, where he stood alone, defying the Dark Lord's army. On that fateful day, Húrin faced a host of trolls, slaying 70 of them in an incredible display of strength. As his allies fell, Húrin alone stood, calling, "Day shall come again," desperately with each strike, refusing to yield. In the end, Morgoth captured him and cursed him, binding his family to a dark fate. From his prison, Húrin was forced to watch the unfolding tragedy of his children, starting with Túrin. Túrin's life, like his father's, was filled with strife and conflict. His younger sister died of young age. Breaking his heart for the first time, his father's capture resulted in another wound in his heart. Later on, when Túrin was 9 years old, Morwen sent him to Doriath, away from his beloved mother and best friend, causing his heart to break for the third time since the curse was cast on him. After being sent to Doriath for safety, Túrin was raised among the elves, learning many skills from them: hunting, woodcraft, archery, sword fighting, and even the elven tongue Sindarin. Yet as Túrin grew older, a restlessness took hold of him. He began inquiring about the men of the north, yearning to know more about his kin. Túrin learned of his younger sister Ninor, though he never saw her. With Morgoth's power increasing in the north and news from his hometown becoming scarce, Túrin's restlessness grew into determination. He sought permission from King Thingol to fight alongside Beleg Cúthalion in the northern marches of Doriath, defending against the orcs of Morgoth. Wearing the dragon helm of Dor-lómin, a symbol of his lineage and strength, Túrin became a fearsome warrior. The orcs began to fear him more than any other as he fought Morgoth's forces alongside Beleg. Túrin's life, like his father's, was filled with strife and conflict. After being provoked and attacked by Saros, an advisor to King Thingol, Túrin's quick temper led to a tragic accident. Believing he was doomed to be punished, Túrin fled Doriath, exiling himself from the only place he called home. Alone and carrying the weight of his father's curse, Túrin's fate would continue to spiral downward. Túrin wandered the wilds of Beleriand, eventually becoming the leader of a band of outlaws. Although noble at heart, his life as an outlaw darkened his spirit as the curse of Morgoth subtly worked its way into his decisions and actions. Despite his efforts to protect those he loved, tragedy seemed to follow him, as if it were written in the stars. Túrin befriended a petty dwarf who ended up betraying him to the orcs of Morgoth. After Túrin was captured by orcs, it was Beleg who braved the dangers of the wild to rescue him. But in a cruel twist of fate, as Beleg cut the bonds of Túrin's captivity, Túrin, in a moment of confusion and fury, mistook his friend for an enemy. Blinded by confusion, Túrin slew his dearest friend. The loss of Beleg would haunt Túrin for the rest of his life, another cruel twist in Morgoth's curse that shaped his tragic destiny. Glaurung, the black sword of Túrin Turambar, was reforged from Anglachel, the very sword once wielded by Beleg Cúthalion, and the same that ended his life. In the city of Nargothrond, Túrin encountered Glaurung, the father of dragons. Using his cunning and power, Glaurung deceived Túrin, convincing him to abandon the people he had sworn to protect. Instead of saving Finduilas, the woman who loved him, Túrin was driven by Glaurung's spell to search for his mother and sister, leaving Nargothrond to its fate. Glaurung's deceit would lead Túrin further into despair, pushing him closer to his inevitable doom. In the end, Túrin confronted Glaurung in a final desperate battle. High above the valley, Túrin struck a fatal blow, driving his black sword, Glaurung, into the belly of the dragon. Túrin, cursed by Morgoth, killed the father of dragons, one of the foremost lieutenants of the Dark Valar. But as Glaurung died, his final act was to lift the veil of his spell, revealing the horrific truth that would shatter Túrin's world. Ninor, Túrin's beloved sister, had unknowingly fallen under Glaurung's curse as well, losing her memory and wandering into Túrin's life. Unaware of their true relation, they lived as husband and wife until the curse was lifted. When Glaurung died, Ninor's memory returned, and in despair, she threw herself to her death. Túrin, now aware of the full extent of Morgoth's curse, was devastated. The greatest tragedy. Overcome by guilt and horror, Túrin's spirit was broken. He ended his own life with the same blade that killed his friend, after killing the men who respected him in mad rage. In the second prophecy of Mandos, it is said that Túrin will rise again in the final battle. In this apocalyptic vision, he will be the one to strike the final blow against Morgoth, avenging the suffering of his family and the world, and finally finding redemption for the torment he endured. Before Túrin's tale comes to a close, his father Húrin was released from his captivity. He tracked down Mim, the petty dwarf who had betrayed Túrin to the orcs. In a fit of rage, Húrin struck down Mim, avenging his son's suffering. Húrin, broken by grief and madness, reached the Mirrors of Twilight on the western borders of Doriath. Captured by the elves guarding the border, they recognized him and brought him before King Thingol in Menegroth. In his rage, Húrin threw the Nauglamir at Thingol's feet, mocking the Elven King by thanking him for his aid to Túrin. But it was Melian, the Queen of Doriath, who finally saw through Húrin's madness, revealing the truth hidden by Morgoth's lies. Shamed and regretful, Húrin picked up the Nauglamir once more, offering it to Thingol as a gift and memorial to his fallen son. He then left Menegroth, freed from Morgoth's dark influence, though his heart remained heavy with sorrow. Thus ends the tale of Túrin Turambar, the Master of Doom. Yet even in death, his legacy would live on as one of the greatest and most tragic heroes of Tolkien's legendarium. If you enjoyed this journey through Middle-earth, be sure to like and subscribe for more epic tales of fantasy, where we explore the legends, heroes, and worlds that shape this beloved genre.